Hello everyone. So now that you can see me and it's not only the voice, I'm Patrick Galliano. I'm head of digital learning at Cegos Group. I'm very pleased to welcome you today. It's a very international webinar because we have people from 20 different countries, almost 100 participants. And the objective is to show you the key findings of Cegos European research. This is a survey that we've been doing for about 15 years now, and we just need to, and we have three different parts. One is technological developments and their impact on the management and HR. Second is strategic skills for the future. And third is professional training, perception of usage. I'm going to go through all these different questions. You may ask your questions in the chat below me actually. If we have some time, we'll take the time to respond to it. Feel free also to ask your questions, and we will compile all the different questions and give your answers in our Cegos Global L&D blog. You're going to receive also the different slides at the end of this presentation. So let's go through these insights. Once again, this survey, we've been doing this survey for 15 years now. Every 2 years is very European. So we've included 5 different countries this year. So France for 20%, Germany, Italy, Spain, and the UK. There were 2,500 people that responded to this survey. Among them, 2,200 employees responded to it, and more than 300 HR and learning directors responded to it as well. It was an online survey conducted in April 2018. One important point is that employees and HR directors are all part of the private sectors, and they are in companies of more than 50 people. And all employees have followed a training for the past 2 years. First aspect is technological development and their impact. So what you see here is the first question that we asked them is to employees. So in purple, you're going to have answers from employees, and in blue or teal blue, you can have responses from HR and L&D. So the first questions we asked them is, would you say that over the next 5 years, technological developments will impact your current jobs? And to a large majority of them, 82%, are saying yes, it will definitely impact my current job. As you can see, I'm going to make also some highlights on the different countries if necessary. So here, for example, in Spain, it was the maximum that we're saying that yes, there's going to be an impact on the current job for 87% of them. And in Germany, for 72% of employees, they were saying that there is an impact on current jobs. We asked the same questions to HR and L&D, saying, would you say that in the next 5 years, technological developments will impact the management of HR? And the good thing is that they're saying also yes, for 89% of them. So there is definitely a joint lucidity, that's the title of this slide, between employees and HR, saying yes, there's impact with technological developments. And are we ready for it? That's the question that we ask them also afterwards. Business impact. Are we coming back to employees? Would you say that technological developments could change the content of your work? 89% of them saying yes, definitely will impact the content of my work, with a maximum in France actually for 94%, and a minimum in Italy with 82%. And when we ask them, well, as a matter of fact, do you think that this technological development could make your position disappear? Well, that's often what we see when we conduct, and when maybe you conducted some transformation projects, there is often some anxiety around changes, and that's what you see here, like 1/3 of employees are saying, yes, it can make my position disappear. So there's definitely some anxiety around it. Now, if we ask HR and L&D, the good thing is when we ask them, would you say that in the next 5 years your organization will face the emergence of business areas or the disappearance of business areas? It's pretty positive. Most of them are saying, for 53%, they will create some new business areas. It will create some new posts as well. So the view is more positive than negative, than destruction of jobs or workforce reductions, what you see here. And it's a bit very parallel with what you've seen basically and what you've responded to in the poll at the very beginning of this webinar. The situation is more positive than negative in the creation of new business or new posts. Now, when we talk about anticipation of risks, and we've asked employees as well as HR, we asked them, well, basically for employees, do you think that your organization is taking actions to anticipate the impact of technology on jobs and business areas? Well, to a majority, 59%, they think yes. The company is getting ready for it. What we can highlight, though, is that there is a difference between managers and non-managers. 59% of managers are saying, yes, my organization is getting ready, whereas non-managers are saying, for 45% of them, that we're not getting ready yet. So it's probably coming out from the fact that the managers are more informed than non-managers, but it's something to highlight anyhow. And when we ask HR, though, is your organization getting ready to deal with these technological developments? A very large majority, 87% of them are saying, yes, definitely we're ready for that, and we started to reflect upon it. And almost 100% in Spain are saying, actually, for HR and L&D, yes, we're ready, and our organization is getting ready for it. So that's now the question that we can ask ourselves is how HR are getting there. How do they deal with that? And how are they going to cope with these changes? So we asked them basically, what are the main areas in which your organization will deploy some actions to cope with these changes? I'm going to make a highlight first in average, and then make some highlights in the different countries. The first thing to cope with these changes is training courses for 79% of them. Once again, we've had more than 2,200 people, employees, responded to these questions, and more than 300 HR and L&D, and they were coming up with 79% of training courses. Second is job restructuring. 55% are saying yes. And recruitment is the third priority and action they will set up in order to cope with these changes. If we make a focus with the different countries and different people who responded to this survey, the first analysis that we can make is the first priority is for all the different countries training courses. France is training course, Spain training course, UK and Germany training courses also the first priority and action, and Italy is also training courses. Then what is being changed is for the second and third priority. For example, if you take Italy, the second is going to be job restructuring and outplacement as the third action they will focus on. The UK, the second is going to be recruitment. The UK and Germany, sorry, is going to be recruitment and third job restructuring. For Spain, second is going to be job restructuring and recruitment, and in France, it's job restructuring and internal mobility. So if I just come back to the previous slides, even though average, you still have training courses as the main action to cope with, there is job restructuring as an average and recruitment. You still have some specificity among the different countries. I'm just to make sure you're going to receive the different slides, so no need to make some screenshots of the different information that you see on the slide on the screen. You're going to receive that after this webinar. So if we sum up this first part, technological development and their impact, the first thing that we can say is both employees and HR L&D directors consider that technological developments will have an impact on jobs and business areas. Even though they do think, HR and L&D directors are very optimistic regarding the impact of technology, since they think it will create more business and opportunities and new posts. And how do they deal with these changes? They will rely first on training courses, then job restructuring, and then recruitment. Let me focus now on strategic skills for the future. So this is the second part of this research. First question is regarding HR and L&D. In your opinion, which of the following behavior skills should employees in your organization master first? First one to highlight was flexibility and adaptation. So the first skill they need to focus on, they will focus on. The second is learning to learn. In other words, how to make sure that they will have all the tools and means in order to cope with all the changes. And third is efficient organization of work. What we can say here is that even though we're talking about technological development impacts on their organization, the digital means and communication, for example, in digital means is arriving in fourth position. The first three parts, flexibility and adaptation, learning to learn, and efficient organization of work, are like soft skills that are popping up at first. And when we ask also the same questions for employees, the same top three arrived also in this position. If we focus on the key skills gaps, and we ask again HR L&D, would you say that your organization is currently facing key skill gaps in your organization? 1/4, almost 25% of them are saying yes, we have a skill gap in our organization. And in the UK, we have about 32%, and the minimum is in Spain for 16%. And when we try to dig out this question is, we've asked them, well, what then is the deficit of key skills? How can it be explained actually? Are we talking about, for 45%, actually 45% are saying, yeah, in average, we're talking about difficulties in developing these skills, almost equal with recruiting people with these skills, and 24% are saying, well, we have some difficulties in retaining people with these skills. What's interesting here, and we're going to show you also the different figures in the different countries, but there are also some gaps between the different countries. So that was the average sum up. Before I continue, you can see that we have more than 100%. That's pretty normal because there was multiple answers possible. So the idea was to, that's why when you sum up the different percentage, you can have above 100%. In Italy, 73% are saying, well, my main difficulty is developing these new skills. In France, sorry, it's 62% are saying also it's still developing skills, but 62% of them for this difficulty. In Spain, where here we have something changing, we'll still have developing the skills for 50%. But the second most difficult aspect is how to retain people with these skills. When we then go to Germany, well, the first difficulty is actually popping up with recruiting people with these skills. Then comes developing these skills and at the end, retaining people. However, if you go across and go to the UK, well, then you can see that for 43% of the respondents, they're saying that we have very much difficulties in retaining people for 43% of them. And second is coming is recruiting, whereas developing skills is okay for us. So it's interesting to note that even though in average, the two most important points popping up is developing skills and recruiting skills, even though there are some gaps in depending on the countries where we're located. Now, when we've said this analysis, well, we've asked also employees and HR, well, how do you think we should, then what are the most effective ways to develop employees and skills? Throughout employees and HR and L&D, the first point is face-to-face, basically, for almost 60 or 61%, common to employees and HR. And there is also a group of three here, 1, 2, 3, is so face-to-face plus accompaniment with either a trainer or a tutor, plus an access to documents, videos, online modules. And the last part is also interaction with colleagues on professional practices. So this is a group of three. So you have face-to-face plus these three. And what we can highlight also on this slide is the differences between what employees would like to get. It's like have more access to documents, videos, online modules, whereas HR and L&D is saying, well, I would rather focus on managers, support from line managers rather than access to documents, videos, and online modules. And last point is exchanges with views on social media network and online communities. This is something, once again, we've been doing for about 15 years now. And this is about the same percentage that we get every year. It's about from 15 to 20%. We rather focus on face-to-face interactions rather than interaction through online communities. Well, now I'm going to try to focus on the three skills groups to consider for the future of work. So imagine that you are a repairman or a repairwoman of washing machines. So you're now inside the washing machine. So imagine, well, I would say 20 years ago, but it's also the case today. If you were to repair a machine, washing machines, the first skill that you need to focus on is obviously expert skills. You need to understand how the machine works, how the motor is working, what are the different parts, etc., etc. So you need to understand basically how the machine is working. Now, the machine is also now evolving in different, in an ecosystem. You may have some Wi-Fi on the machine, you may have Bluetooth, you can have electronic devices. So what you need to know as a repairman or repairwoman of a washing machine is these systemic skills, what you can call also ecosystem. The machine is not on its own, it's connected to telecommunication operators, to devices, to different system operations. So the idea is to understand where the machine is connected to, what is the interface between the man and the machine. And when we say that, well, it means also for the repairman or the repairwoman that he or she needs basically to have the transversal skills, so soft skills in order to get in contact, for example, with let's say an operation, a telecommunication operator, they need to get in contact with them, or a device provider in order to understand what is going on and to figure out where is a problem coming out. And you need then to have written skills, to have social skills, situational skills. So if we try to sum up basically what are the skills, the three skills groups that we need to consider for the future of work, there is obviously understanding of the machine itself, understanding in which ecosystem we're evolving, and to get the soft skills in order to evolve in this environment. So these are the three main skills groups that now we need to focus on. You're not anymore a washing machine repairman or repairwoman. I'm going to sum up this second part regarding the strategic key skills for the future. So once again, the top three for HR and both employees is flexibility and adaptation first, learning to learn, and efficient organization of work. What are the most effective ways to develop these skills? First is face-to-face, plus accompaniment with tutor or trainer, and access to a catalog of learning objects. And what are the three key skill groups to consider for the future of work? It's expert skills, so technical skills, systemic skills, and transversal skills. Let me go through the last part of this research, is professional training, perception and usage. And we've asked basically employees as well as and HR, in your opinion, regarding vocational training, regarding professional training, what is the responsibility? And for two-thirds of them, two-thirds of employees and HR, this is a shared responsibility between the company and the employees. And for one-third of them, there's responsibility of the company. So for most of them, a large majority, it's a shared responsibility between the employees and the company. We ask employees basically, but now, are you ready also to finance part of your cost of your training? And to a majority of them, also 53%, they're saying yes, we're ready to pay for part of it. And we're even ready, and for a large majority, for 79%, to take training outside of my working time, because we know that, once again, learning to learn is very important, and I need to be trained to be more efficient and in my day-to-day work. So I'm ready to work outside of my training time. What are the priorities for HR? We asked them rank the following objectives. There were a bunch of objectives that they were able to rank. And what are the objectives they need to focus on regarding training courses? The first objective and number one priority is to provide employees with the means to learn at any time according to their needs. Priority one. Priority two is to make the link also with the training policy and the company strategy. And third point is to be able to evaluate training courses' impact and return on investments. So if I have to summarize this slide, I would say that the top three priorities: first, to create a learning ecosystem for all employees to be able to train anytime, any moment. That is linked obviously to the company strategy in my business. And also I want to make sure that it has a real impact and performance impact on my business. So these are my main priorities as HR and L&D directors. And how will I do that? So we've asked basically HR and L&D, how, in your opinion, how should training develop? And just for this one, I'm going to start from the end, because it also highlights the evolution of the different trends that we've been reviewing for the past 15 years, and you may have reviewed that also in your organization. First, we started with shortening the formats. So we always talk about shorter and shorter formats now, learning formats. Then training methods where we started to have a mix between the different formats, so variety of formats. So that's the second point. We started to have also tablets and smartphones, so we wanted to have them available and to make it also more interactive and fun. So gamification also came up, and this is the third point here. Second development for training is individualization, and it was a key trend that we're still reviewing among the different training that we provide throughout with you around the world. And the last point is make sure that it is individualized, but also in my workplace training to make sure that I can transpose it very easily in my environments. So these are the key trends that we highlighted, that HR and L&D highlighted in their training. So first, shorter formats, variety of training methods, different devices and gamification, individualization, and workplace training. So if I try to summarize this last part, I would say, first, according to both employees and HR L&D directors, vocational training is a shared responsibility between the company and the employees. Employees are definitely ready to finance part of the cost of the training and to take part of training outside of their working time. And from a training perspective, HR and L&D directors believe that workplace training and reinforcement should be promoted for 66% of them, and training courses shall be individualized for 57% of them. If we make a very quick conclusion, because we are almost done and almost done through these 30 minutes presentation, I would say 3 key findings for this Cegos 2018 European research. There is definitely an acceleration of skills development, and this is what employees and HR and L&D directors are definitely agree on. There are machines, yes, but then what is important is association between machines and humans and soft skills that are becoming important. So if we try now to focus on your main business is what is the impact of learning, I would definitely see from these insights is that human interactions are becoming more important. Even though we're living in a digital world, human interactions are having a lot of impact in order to make it more effective. And before we take a few questions, if we have a bit more time, I'm just going to make a quick ad about this new concept of training that we are now promoting and implementing with a large number of you now. It's a 4-wheel approach, so where you have first sustainable learning paths, a learning path within different weeks and months, because we know that we don't only learn in a 2-day or 3-day training. It takes more time than that. It has to include some digital in order to make sure that I can learn whenever I want and wherever I want. It could be also customizable and adaptable. And we focus a lot on fostering on-the-job transposition. So when you guys work with Cegos, we always try to make it as performant as possible in your organization, within your workplace environment. So feel free, actually, if you want more details on this 4-wheel approach, to get in contact with your contacts in your countries where you're located. And just to finish this webinar, we're almost done now. I'm going to have maybe the chance to have one question is, we have the chance and pleasure to be your global L&D partner with 50 different countries. So we run international projects. We have a course portfolio, and we do help you also in transforming your organization through L&D. Obviously, if you want to follow us, feel free to follow us on our blog, global-learning-development.com. I'm not sure I had the chance to review all the questions that you may have asked us, but we will compile them, and you will have our responses in this blog, as well as a recording of this session. Maybe you have one question. I don't know if you want to ask a question of comprehension. Maybe we just have a 30-minute webinar, so if you have questions, feel free to do so. We would love also to receive your feedbacks. If you can take a few seconds, this is very important for us in order to improve ourselves, is get your feedbacks on this webinar. And thank you, Leila. Thank you, Olivier. Thank you, Angie. Thank you, Paola, for your inputs. Thank you, Fabienne, as well. We were basically about 100 people throughout the world. Once again, 20 different countries connected at the same time. Some of you were connected very early in the morning, some of you pretty late in the afternoon. So thank you very much for your time. It's been a real pleasure. I hope that you found your insights for your next L&D implementations. Thank you, Beatrice, for your feedback, and Carola as well. Feel free, obviously, if you want more information, because you receive lots of numbers, if you want more information to get in contact with your contacts in the different countries, we'll be pleased to get more information about that. And please stay online also with our blog. You can register to the blog and receive all the different posts that we highlight when we have some time available. Thank you, Sylvia. Thank you, Thomas. Thank you, Jose. It's a bit like the World Cup today. We have people from all around the world. So good luck for the teams still in the competition this afternoon.